And I'd like to invite our panelists to the stage. So first of all, we have Mr. Andrew Takyi-Appiah, who's the co-founder and managing director of Zeepay. And then we have Dr. Sangu, Delle, co-founder and CEO of Africa Health Holdings. And then we'd like to welcome Dr. Patricia Zolantima, founder and chairwoman of Delle Holdings. Now, we were supposed to have a third panelist joining us virtually. That was Mrs. Ndidi Okonkwo Nwuneli, the co-founder and executive chair of Sahel Consulting, Agriculture and Nutrition. But unfortunately, she's traveling, so she can't join us. But we would like to welcome to the stage our moderator. That's Eugene Zumalo, former VP and group treasurer of World Remit Group. Quick update. I'd like to invite one more speaker to the panel. Last but most certainly not least, Ms. Nyasho Kwadzidzoy, I'm so sorry, the co-founder of Kashanda Virtual and Recruitment Agency. Please join us on the panel. Like I said, this panel is going to be Indigenous business and innovation, and there'll be 10 minutes for Q&A at the end.
All right, can you all hear me? All right, thank you. Thank you for the time today, and thank you, panelists, for making time, and apologies for any inconvenience that we caused. What I really wanted to do, I wanted to give each of the panelists 5 minutes to discuss what their view on business innovation in the context of Africa. I personally have never worked in Africa. I've not done business in Africa as such, so I think I've got a lot to learn. So I thought it'd be an opportunity for those who have actually executed and done things and have achieved results, the opportunity to tell us, who, myself included, that don't know. So what I'm going to do, what I suggest is that I'll start off with Dr. Sangu, and then I'll give everyone 5 minutes, and then within that time frame, that should be another 5-10 minutes of everyone to then have a dialogue or a discussion based on what everyone has said. I think that would be fair. And then, of course, then there's the Q&A, because today I think I've learned a lot from hearing from people. As a business person, I realize actually you're quite narrow focused. You only focus about your bottom line, but there's a bigger world out there. So we'll start with you, Dr. Sangu.
Thank you, and thank you to the organizers. It's great. This is actually my first time in Cambridge. So it's great to be here. And you know, this morning when I was changing, I decided to be on best behavior. I nearly wore a suit with my Oxford tie, but I decided to be on good behavior. First, I want to do a quick poll of the room. How many, African companies that generate more than $1 billion in revenue, how many companies do you think exist on the continent that generate more than $1 billion? If you actually know the answer, don't raise your hand. I want people who are going to guess.
About 4.
4?
10.
10? 3? 6?
20.
20? 0. Any others?
Second is 0.
How about you? 8.
Yeah.
You all the way in the back with the glasses and the black sweater. Yes, you. 50. The actual number is 400. There are 400 companies in Africa that are doing over $1 billion in revenue. There are 700 companies in Africa that are doing over $500 million in revenue. And these companies, 40% of them are publicly listed, half of them are owned by private shareholders on the continent. And collectively, these companies generated over $1.5 trillion. Okay.
So, Dr. Sangu, the Financial Times did publish this article 2-3 weeks ago. I believe that's why I didn't mention something, because I actually knew the answer.
Yeah.
So thank you for leading us in that direction.
I do that as the opening because I'm going to make 2 quick points in the 5 minutes. And the first point is really around scale. And that is, as we think about innovation, we have to scale. I gave a TED talk where I critiqued microfinance.
Yeah.
Which, everyone loves microfinance. My issue is not that there isn't merit to microfinance, or there isn't merit to helping poor Ama in the village to pull herself up. I'm not disputing that. My issue is that why is it that every time we are dealing with Africa stuff, we go for solutions that betray a poverty of ambition and a poverty of thinking? Right? When we had to rebuild Europe in the aftermath of World War II, the Marshall Plan was ambitious. And it was a plan that sought to revitalize the post-war economies and saw this is how Germany today, which is the most powerful economy in Europe, imagine, the loser in the war. No, I'm serious. Because the plan was ambitious. Japan, which was completely, they dropped a nuclear bomb on them. No, I want you to think about it. A nuclear bomb was dropped on those people. And look at the economy today. Yet when it comes to Africa, there's a poverty of ambition. We say, Michael, oh, give the woman a little goat. To do what? So I want us to move away from the small way of thinking. SME, woman in the selling tomatoes. There's nothing wrong with a woman selling tomatoes, but that is not going to allow us to bridge the gap. We have 11 million young people entering the labor force every year to reach 3 million jobs. Tomato sellers are not going to create that jobs, right? And if you look at global economic history, majority of the economic value created globally is created from large companies.
Yeah. Dr. Sangu, please stay on that topic. I don't want you to jump to another topic, because Nyansha is a good example of a woman who has actually built a business, so I'll credit you back with a minute. Nyansha, could you tell us a bit more about your path to where you are now? I know I was a banker to you, so I know you have built something and you've sold it for a fortune. So tell us.
Yeah, it's very interesting about, even when we were doing, I knew the answer. When you were doing your research, we were thinking small, isn't it? When it comes to Africa, we're thinking 0, 50, no imagination whatsoever, that it could be bigger, it could be million Africans owning, creating lots of jobs.
But you've done
and
that.
My thing is to really create jobs for the young people, and as you said, Africa is creating 11 million young people coming on the job market, and the 3 million jobs, and we see a lot of African drowning north of Africa trying to come to Europe because of this economic deprivation and because of no jobs and people not thinking big. And I'm always going that for very big. I'm very ambitious. I'm ambitious for Africa. And I'm not talking about the women selling their tomatoes. They have a place in society. But now, due to COVID, I've been to, since COVID, I've been to Ghana, I've been to Malawi, I've been to Nairobi. those women are no longer there. So what are they doing? They're no longer, the government has taken them off the streets. The young people who were selling airtime, you name it, trying to manage and trying to feed themselves, they're not there. COVID has taken them off the streets because of lockdown, and they haven't gone back. So we need really to think big. And I will say, whatever your business idea, if it doesn't frighten you, it's not big enough.
Wow.
It really has to frighten you. And you really need to think really big. And I was really coming. I'm really coming from thinking about what has happened in Africa in terms of the charity model. And someone has written a book actually recently called The Spirit Level, that charity was set up after the war to help vulnerable people globally. But today, this was 1945, today, the same people who were poor and in poverty in 1945, they're still poor today. They haven't moved the spirit level. The thing has not moved. So you need something which will shift the needle, literally to shift it. So you need to think big. And why can't you think big for Africa? Why do you always have to think small?
So on that point, I'll pause it because I don't want us to go further into the charity model. I want you to tell us a bit more. What are you doing since you saw from your traveling, seeing that people are not doing it? How are you addressing that? Because I know
yes, I'm at the moment. I was the same. I was thinking that I want to go back to Africa. I am going back to Africa. I was born in Zimbabwe, but circumstances have stopped me going for a minute. But I'm going there. That's why I've been to. I think I've been to about 25 African countries, looking at women, what they're needing. And I, as a Black African woman, doing my business in UK, I found capital of access to finance is the biggest issue affecting women. But I think it's also affecting men. But I found it difficult to find access to grow my business organically. So I ended up growing my business organically. I never had any funding from no one. I never even had £1 overdraft. Today, I do not have an overdraft facility of £1.
Yeah, and that's the truth. I did the financial due diligence.
And it just incredible. So I thought that I would like to work with women and ambitious women entrepreneurs who are not asking me for £100 or $100, but and a social impact investment fund. So I started thinking small again for Africa. I thought, I would like to raise 100 million. And then I started doing more research into it, and the impact I really want to make. 100 million is nothing. When you think of private equity, we're talking about billions. So now I'm gone up the ladder, and I want to raise at least $1 billion for women entrepreneurs in Africa.
Thank you.
The smallest ticket is going to be about half a million. And I have a lot of women who approach me when I'm traveling, wanting me to give them $10,000, $500, and they're not really, they're not my ticket level. Because I'm just so ambitious for them. And but there is really a need, what I found, to go back to those women who are thinking small, to get them ready, because that's another thing I've really struggled to get entrepreneurs who are ready, because they're not thinking.
Okay.
Ready for investment.
So Nyasha, I'll stop you there, because that's when you come in, because you actually did create an incubation, and then you played a part in creating from our discussion on, I think, when did we talk? Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? You gave me an example where your contribution, or what you guys did as a team, you created a unicorn in Nigeria. So can you walk us through that? How would you support? I mean, reflecting on it now, what would you do different? So let's assume everyone here becomes part of your project team. What would you need, and how would you go about in order to create that environment that creates a unicorn? Assuming, let's forget about all the troubles we have in Africa. Let's just forget. Let's park that aside. The lawyers and the legislation and policy thinkers would deal with that. But you, as a bank, as someone who's experienced in actually executing, what would you do?
Okay, thank you. First of all, let me clarify, I did not create a unicorn. But I've interviewed a unicorn, so let me just clarify that fact. So yeah, I think what I want to add to this conversation, and also slightly change some of the language, is that for me, the key to the African dream, Pan-African dream, because I also want to move beyond the word African to Pan-African, is that the key to that dream is connectivity.
Right.
So I think it's important to realise that many of us in this room may be UK-born or foreign-born. Many of us may live in the continent. So no matter where you are, having that connectivity means you can add value in some shape or form. And in fact, I was just speaking to this lady when we were sitting down together and just saying, in my case, as somebody that's Saudi-born, so in Ghana, during the 80s, there was the Rawlings coup. Many people fled. We ended up in Saudi Arabia, long story. But the fact is that I've decided through many attempts to actually move back to whether it's Ghana or Nigeria or South Africa, that being the bridge is the role I'm going to play, being the bridge to capital, being the bridge to connections, being the bridge to resources. So really that's what I've focused my career on, understanding how to mobilize resources to support startups, to support businesses. From the perspective of what I did in the startup world, so in Nigeria, and UK and US, so launching the Africa Startup Academy in Lagos was probably one of the best things I did in my career, because there we were at the grassroots, trying to figure out a model, incubation model that would work and have impact. So some of the successes we had were the Lagos State's Ready, Set, Work program, which was providing entrepreneurial education for basically high school and mature students, because at the end of the day, even with the best idea, to your point, until that woman understands her value and understands how to build, you can give her all the money you want, you simply won't be able to realize the value of that investment.
Okay.
And then from working with other startups and also trying to make angel investments, having the privilege of shaking the hands of the Paystack guys way back in 2016, and then all of a sudden, this is Africa's biggest M&A story. Working with Interswitch during my JP Morgan days, who was Africa's first unicorn. So there's lots of great stories, as Sangu has mentioned, out there, but connectivity, whether it's to capital, to human resources, to education, is how we're going to make things happen. So I'm happy to delve into more.
So you got 1 more minute. Okay. You have been in different platforms. For me, JP Morgan is a platform, and what you did with Nigeria is a platform. So how would you, with all the experience you have learned, how would you make that dream that Sangu is saying, how would you build that platform and then to fulfill that vision he has, so that we are not just talking about one unicorn in Cape Town and another one in Egypt, but we are, like earlier on, someone shared 50 unicorns. How can, what would you do different for us to do that, to achieve that?
No, that's a really great question. I think part of the challenge is with the Pan-African dream is that I think there are so many problems. So I think, as Eugene mentioned during his second keynote speech, there are problems everywhere. So really it's time to focus and think about areas where we can dominate, because it's a scale game, which means you can start getting international attention, international investors, and then really start pushing African intellectual property overseas. So for me, it's all about fintech, which is a nice segue for Andrew, because that's where we're getting the international attention. Having that economic power is how we're going to start having an impact globally.
I think we've passed the cue to you, Andrew. Now, with you, actually, someone who's actually creating, you've created a company. I listened to your interviews. I see that there's a lot of operational issues that you have to adjust, you have to learn, and trial and error, but also bring your own experiences. And what would you say to the young person today who has an idea, and how would you guide them? What would the Andrew today say to the Andrew at 20, who you were at 2006, when you were sat down in a hotel with your friends?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here and very delighted as well. I want to take it from Mohammed's last comment on scale. Okay, so what I see is a different narrative in Africa today. And that narrative is, I like to call it the New African.
Okay.
The New African is looking not into the West. The New African is not thinking about capital. Okay, and I want to expand that and say that, look, that I feel that the time has come, and I'm seeing it on the continent though, for us to use global models that we have learned either in schools or by being from the diaspora or even just reading and leverage homegrown platforms. So how do I take local food, for example, and redesign and repackage it and build distribution out of it to scale it?
Yeah.
And it's not fintech at that point.
Okay.
It's just food, you know. Rather than waiting to get McDonald's into Ghana and then scale McDonald's, how do I take a common plantain chip? For those who don't know plantain chip, we have a product called plantain. It's a fruit. We have some kind of staple called plantain, or even cassava or cocoyam. Okay, you can scale it, turn it into a form of crisp. We call them chips. I've been traveling the Caribbean over the last 3 months, and it's fantastic. It's like they even have gluten-free plantain chips. That's skill beyond skill. So as a guy, how do you do that? I probably need to dry it out so much that the starch comes out of it.
Yeah.
So already you have 2 products coming out of a single platform, which is homegrown. Do you see what I mean? How do we take local brands? In Ghana, we have a brand that I grew up in Ghana. Most of us who grew up in Ghana will grow up on it. It's called papaya. Okay, it's a basic fast food, really basic.
Okay.
But how do you package it to scale it and franchise it? Do you see what I mean? Okay. So I think that's what I'm seeing come out of the New African. Right. We have Twigger Foods as an example. So if I could say Zeepay, for example, we leverage remittances. We sat back and said, look, you know what? Our mom and pops, our aunties and grandmas are the ones sending the money home. We should find the best way for them to distribute that money. So that's what I'm seeing. Okay, and I think that in terms of business and innovation and scaling, taking back control, I don't think it's about capital. I think it's really about we in this room.
So the power of thought.
Right, we in this room teaching ourselves and the people outside this room how to leverage their passion and turn it into money. Because scale will come if you believe in it. If you don't believe in it, you cannot scale it. And when you believe in it, somebody will fund you to scale it beyond what you believe.
Okay. So before, I mean, it's very nice what you're saying, but my target audience is a young person who, you know, neither do they have life experience, but they have the vision. So how do we prepare them to deal with the storms? Okay.
Well, I think the first thing is you won't have the money. You won't have the money to deal with the storm. You need strength, and you need a mentor. And if you don't have a mentor, you need God. Okay. I'm not God. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm coming from. You can smell the smokes, right? Okay. So if you don't have God, you don't have a mentor, then you just need the inner strength. Okay. That inner strength will come from your past experience, from the journey you started. Yeah. Because I've seen young people who haven't had a job in a day. And are building platforms. Okay, brilliant. You know, they're building serious platforms, either because they studied, they looked at their parents, they looked at the struggle their communities went through, and they put it together. Exactly. So I think it starts from the mind. Then if you're blessed to have somebody who can encourage or look up to, then it goes beyond the mind. You know what I mean? Wonderful. But it starts from you, though.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think everyone has had an opportunity to express their ideas and their beliefs. So I think now I'll open to you guys to have a dialogue on
you still owe me my minute.
Yes,
no
I've got it. Yeah, I remember that. You can have it. You can have it.
I want to push back a bit on Andrew's point. Right. So in a bit of context is I wrote a book on African entrepreneurs where I interviewed over 600 of African entrepreneurs across 45 African countries. Okay. I've also, with Golden Palm, I was one of the early pioneers of VC. So we were the earliest investors in Delle, Flutterwave, M-Pharma, SocoWatch, Frontier Car Group, etc.
Flutterwave, it just became a 5 billion company, right?
The last public valuation is 3 billion, and that's the only one I can speak of. But we invested in Flutterwave when it was 2.5 million.
So you made a fortune.
Yes.
I just want to get it out there.
Now, when we first started
Yeah.
when I first started investing, the VC market was a $10 million market.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
At that time, we were 10% of the market, not because we're anything big, it's because the market was virtually non-existent.
Yeah.
I remember 2012 when it became $40 million and we high-fived.
Yeah. Okay.
Last year was $5 billion. Q1 of this year was $2 billion. We sometimes romanticize the idea of all you need is a great idea and you can make it happen. It's not true.
Okay. Exactly.
It is not true. Disabuse yourself of that notion. I respectfully disagree with Andrew.
Yeah.
Let me pick all these companies that succeeded.
Yeah.
Flutterwave did not succeed because GB and E had all their faith and no, it succeeded because they raised $500 million.
Yeah.
Delle didn't succeed out of a vacuum. Delle raised $250 million.
Yeah.
M-Pharma, I wrote M-Pharma their first check.
Yeah.
Right, and since then, M-Pharma has raised over $50 million. Wasoko just closed a $100 million round.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that it is actually, it's the same way I feel about meritocracy. Meritocracy is a fraud.
Okay.
No, I'm being very honest. It is a fraud.
Yeah.
It is a myth that is sold to people
Yeah.
so that the elites can maintain the gatekeeping and they will allow a few people to walk in and the rest of you believe in the system.
All right. So now you're talking about Michael Foucault now.
Yeah, I'm being very honest. This idea that you can come and take a brilliant idea and suddenly you make it is a myth.
All right. Okay.
If you look at it, the majority of people who make it,
Yeah.
they are well capitalized.
Yes.
They have the relevant social capital and networks,
Yeah.
and they know who. So let's call a spade a spade. Let's not pretend and sell dreams. Yeah. Let's not sell dreams to young people.
Yeah.
If you have a good idea, first of all, how will you even get it in a VC's hands?
Yeah.
I literally get over 10,000 business ideas on my desk.
Yeah.
I don't look at it. Why am I going to have the time to look at it?
Okay.
So the only one I'll take a look at is if Andrew calls me and says, Charlie, my paddy B gets on this thing. Will you look at it? I'll look at it because I'm like, okay, Andrew be correct guy.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. If Mami says, Mami has a nice voice, so I'll look at it. Right, but be real. Like, so let's not leave people here thinking, yes, it's no. It's who you know.
Yeah.
And it's getting the capital. Don't be fooled.
Yeah. But I
want to come in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad my dream is coming to reality and it's already exciting. Yes, go ahead, please.
So, Sangu is a VC, right?
Yes.
I have to respect that. I'm not a VC, I'm a hustler.
Yes. Okay.
So,
a rich one.
So I tell you what, I obviously for certain reasons I cannot mention names, but before I went into Zeepay, I worked for a bank, and I saw how wealthy the bank could be, and yet so far away they were from the dream, for the simple reason that most of the people around the owner of the bank were just very short-sighted. There was a lot of short-termism in the room.
So you're talking about quarterly earnings.
And I was on a ticket of a multilateral agency to help them do a transformation. Okay. So my background is balance sheet transformation, basically.
Okay.
So I said to the big man, look, if you can't take my ideas, then at least give me your license, let me buy it. Sure, I said to the big man, if you can't take my ideas, then at least give me your license.
Yeah.
And let me use your license to work and I'll pay you.
Yes.
Because I believed in what I wanted to do. I so believed in it.
So that was the vision.
So I'm going to talk about it in 5 minutes in different points, different points. So on the issue of passion and vision, because you can translate passion into wealth before you meet a VC. I never knew Flutterwave raised that kind of money before they went to market, because we never raised any money. We just had a seed contribution. Well, I'll tell you all about the story in 2 minutes. So this guy said he would give me £500,000. He thinks he likes my spirit. He believes in what I'm trying to do. 2 days later, he changed his mind and said he can't give me the money back. He will give me the license. I said, I'm happy to turn down. No, it's fine. It's okay. I still believed in my vision. So I turned in my resignation. December 15th, I left the bank.
Yeah.
I remember January 1st, I had to buy scratch card because for the first time, I'm not going to be using a postpaid line. Fair enough, not a problem. I had a wife who at least believed that maybe this guy would make it. Okay. So I started. My office I used to be in will be about maybe twice the size of this platform. In fact, we could only go to work from 2 p.m. to about 10 because it was a shared office and the main office had to be in the office till we leave. Okay. But we kept at it. We couldn't see it, but we just kept at it. Sometimes, Sangu, you might not see it until you meet the VC. So in my story, we kept at it. I went around and I spoke to a few HNIs. I said, look, I'm trying to do this. Would you give me money? Some of them promised me $200,000. They gave me $133,000. Some promised me $14,000. They gave me $20,000. By the time I had done, I put together about $450,000. But this I would have done after the first year of actually making the move. This $450,000 will take us up until last year, June, when we did our first close. Last year, I ended my year as a $1.5 billion turnover business. Our financials are a common story. It's all over the place. You can look at it. So I still believe that not all of us will see the VC before we take off. Okay. I believe that those of us who won't see the VCs, we need to believe in something. I see it when I go to the grocery shop, Sangu in Ghana, where I see products that are homemade. And yes, I also know you have to hustle your way through maybe 2 years before the guy would actually talk to you and say, I'll take your product. That's the unfortunate part of the story. It is true. And that's why I say you need God and you need a mentor. And if you don't have them, find yourself.
Andrew, I'll stop you
30-second rebuttal.
I'll stop you there.
No, 30-second rebuttal. It's critical. I'm not disputing what Andrew is saying, but here are the facts. Anyone who's familiar with Bourdieu, the French sociologist, right? Bourdieu spoke about different forms of capital. That's true. Right? Cultural capital, social capital, everything is not just money. Now, what I'm trying to say is that
so, Dr. Sangu, you agree with Nyasha, right? Because she's talking, and by the way, I'm a bit biased with Nyasha. We both have faced discrimination raising capital. So I won't go into that. But my business model, as of today, is because what I learned from Nyasha. We don't owe anyone any money. Yes, we're deep in red, but that's money from our pocket. So I think you agree with Nyasha.
No, what I'm trying to clarify here is that capital is not always money.
I agree.
The license he received, if he did not have the social capital, that conversation wouldn't even come.
So you're still on your theme that
no, and the reason I'm saying that and I'm pushing that is because I have seen a trail of tears. The size of the Grand Canyon. When we put and as you know, I'm a big mental health activist. I've seen so many entrepreneurs fall into depression, believing in the false hope. So I'm trying to say what Andrew is saying is correct in that. Without hope and passion, you will fail.
That's it.
But the hope and passion
is not enough.
It's not enough. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient.
No, I think I agree with Doc. However, I just want to, because we have people listening to us all over the place, I want to qualify and say that, look, I mean, people come out of university for the first time and they want to build the world, okay? It might be tough, but give it a try. This is my third try that I've been successful. When I went to school in England, when I lived in England, I used to own a platform called rentmyroom.co.uk. What did I used to do? I was hustling. I take rooms from the community and I sell it to my African brothers. Because even their accent alone might not give them a chance in the room. No, let's be fair, right? But it didn't go far. It crashed on me. I moved to America. I built KenteFabrics.com. I used to sell Kente stores to the universities. It was a straight hustle. I go to the universities. You know, American universities, they love to feel African. I did that until one big university shut me down because they took an order. They won't pay me for 8 months. And obviously, I'll shut down. You have to keep trying. But you need man and you need God.
So I want to give the opportunity to the ladies to close, and then we open to Q&A.
Sure. I mean, I'm just going to echo the comments of both Sangu and also Andrew. So when I said connectivity, that means literally people, capital, etc. Because probably what really shocked me is that when I was working with a startup in Silicon Valley, is that anyone with a half-baked idea and a half-baked background in Silicon Valley can make it. And when you see that, it makes you so angry that you want to do something.
That's also true.
But the challenge is, obviously, back in our respective home countries, you know, just getting power to be able to work is a challenge. So there's so much, we have so much of a gap to fill just to be able to compete with the outside world, which is why you do need to game the system, work to your advantage, and I think focus. There are so many problems, but if we all focused on particular industries, particular countries, so in my case, whilst I am Ghanaian, I'm also an honorary Lagosian, because in Nigeria, the demographics lend themselves to all sorts of business cases, which is why Nigeria continues to receive the lion's share of capital, because the numbers work in their favor. So that's kind of, I'll leave it there, but to the young people, I would also say that, you know, figure out your position. So as much as I really want to be an entrepreneur, I failed the first time. Hopefully I'll continue to be like Andrew. But in the meanwhile, I'm playing my role as the bridge. That's where I can be strong. So let me support and help others. As opposed to many people that want to be an entrepreneur these days because it's fashionable and trending. But that's know yourself, learn yourself, and play your role now, whilst you're also building the skills as Andrew did, you know, learning how to build a business with those other businesses so that now he's wildly successful. So know yourself, play a role well, and then build and build. But I'll hand over to
Yeah, you definitely need determination and resilience in the it's a global issue. But for me, what drives me is my big why. Is really, why am I getting out of bed? And if it's to make it, for me, it's to make a difference. Life.
But you did it, you're not just talking.
Yes, and that's what I'm a doer. I don't theorize about things. And I'm driven by my big why. And if it's not big enough, don't even get out of bed. Because you get a lot of noise.
So I think that's a good point for questions, you guys to answer the questions.
But I'll surprise our panel, we have not yet insulted government.
Nobody mentioned e-levy.
Thank you so much all for your presentations. You speak big money, big ideas, big capital. In your view, how do we solve the poverty crisis in Africa?
Right.
What is the one thing that needs to be done so that more people can be rich?
Yeah. Look, I actually think if you look at some of the earlier comments we've all made, right, it boils down to the big numbers, because the poverty numbers are big. And so we actually need to scale businesses so they can hire, right? So I'll give case in point, right? The healthcare system we're building. We started with one clinic. If we stayed at that one clinic, there'll only be 12 to 14 people we'd employ. Today, we have 65 hospitals and clinics, and we employ over 2,000 people just within that system, not to count the indirect. So you need that. There's just, if Andrew looks at Zeepay and he charts his journey in the beginning from just a few of them to today, the number of people they employ, but not just that, the ecosystem in terms of people that have built systems on top of Zeepay, it creates a whole, right? So to me, at the end of the day, it's very simple. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur, right? In fact, we over-romanticize that idea, right? I'm being honest. Half of you should not be entrepreneurs. You are not built for it. No, I'm serious. Majority of people need jobs, right? And they just want decent jobs that give them dignity. But where are these jobs going to come from? Our governments are terrible, because what they do is, they need to create the conducive environments for jobs. But instead of doing that, instead they say, oh, entrepreneurial way out of this will be an entrepreneur. And it's very misleading. We need to be able to create jobs. We need to be able to grow the ecosystem. And having e-levy is not going to do that. Thank you.
So, can I come in? So I want to take that question to another level, right? So I want to see from three perspectives. I think the first perspective is, as nations, we need to go back to the classroom. Either we do it at the university level or we do it at secondary. We need to bring entrepreneurship to the classroom. Okay, maybe out of that, even the employees will learn to be entrepreneurs. So there's nothing wrong with that.
So now what you're suggesting is that the Japanese model or the South Korean
or
model,
the American model
can create value.
Or the American model. Okay. In the US, most of you have been to school in the US, you find that your professor at the second level will be coming from industry.
Right.
It gives you a certain sense of you can do it.
Okay.
We need to also look at the curricula. So that's one. The second thing is we need to create a belief system. Okay, that belief system, it comes from some of what Sangu is saying, it comes from the businesses we all build. That belief system that it can be done, either in an ecosystem environment or it can be done by one person who will power on the ecosystem. I think the third thing we need to also look at is we need to recognize that we're poor. Poverty is not just the guy who has just $1 or less than $1. We have big companies in Ghana that have been in Ghana or Nigeria or wherever for 40 odd years and they've never crossed the river.
Right.
That's a sign of poverty.
Okay.
That is a sign of poverty. They've not built distribution. Yeah, you talk about Nando's. A lot of people might not know. Companies like Nando's, etc., came out of Zimbabwe. You understand? So we need to we need a reawakening. And all of us in this room, especially those who go to these lovely universities, need to start thinking that way.
But that's not education, is it?
It's a form of education. It's part of social capitalization. It's something we need to look at.
Well, I don't want to get into a debate, but I don't classify that as education.
It's education, it's not schooling.
Yes, okay. So that's...
Yeah, but it's education.
Because if we start saying it's education, I think people will start thinking as schooling.
No, but part of it, my first narrative was schooling.
Okay.
Yes.
At the school level, the curriculum needs to change.
Okay.
You see, for almost 80 years, we're running models that were tested or tried or worked in other markets. The first time we need to look at homegrown. Homegrown is not just building a company. Homegrown is even the design. What is our, you see, look, let me tell you, just 1 second. We're very communal as Africans. That's why we have chiefs. When we cross the river, we even have chiefs in our diaspora communities. Because we're communal. You understand? So even that, do we have that same spirit when we go into the schools? Do you understand me? We talk about democratization. The one thing that has democratized Africa is technology. For the first time, I can sit here. If you talk about the whiteboard game we've been talking about, we can sit here. It will interest most of you to know that my company is one of the few profitable startups in the world, fintech. I challenge you, check all the financials. So my point is, democratization comes from education. It comes from school.
But Andrew's point about homegrown is actually a key one because most of our curriculum is actually vestiges of the colonial period.
But the interest, he had a purpose. Please forgive me, I'm not taking a position. I'm just saying we have to understand that the interest of a curriculum served a self-interest.
Exactly.
And then that self-interest is actually in government because our politicians are more on the extraction model. You look at...
not productive.
So exactly.
But even outside that, right, take the media, right? Someone, KSM, who's a satirist in Ghana, made this joke one time. And it was funny, but it had me thinking. He said, compare a 5-year-old child in Ghana to a 5-year-old child in America. He said the American child, 5-year-old, what is he watching on TV? Captain America. So what he knows at 5 years old is, yeah, America, I can do anything, Captain America. What's a 5-year-old Ghanaian child learning? Kwekwa Nancy stole someone's beans. No, I'm telling you, that's his hero. He stole someone's beans. No.
Well,
no, at that level, right? If you watch what we show on TV, witches, wizards, your village people have done something to you. Those images is all part of the education. So what are we soaking in?
All right. Okay. I'll open the floor for another question. So we had a lady. So let's open to him now. At the back. Grey shirt, grey suit. You be next.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry.
Or why don't we collect 3 at a go? So
okay. All right. So we'll collect those.
Okay, thank you very much. I think my question goes to Dr. Sangu. Dr. Sangu, my name is Fred Manu. I've listened to you, and I think you're inspiring us. I mean, from where we sit, you're already out there, you're creating wealth, supporting people to become great business people. But my question is, since you are now a gatekeeper, you know how to access finance and, you know, give opportunities to people. How do we make it fairer so that I don't need to know a big man in order to access that venture capital required to run a business?
Okay.
I mean, from where we are now, the system is fairer. I would not need to be in a particular grouping, at least to get that little overdraft.
All right, thank you.
That helps someone to make a business. Thank you.
All right, the next question, please try and be concise.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Unfortunately, that will be our last question.
Yeah.
So let's answer that one.
Oh, the lady here.
The lady in front. Hello.
There.
Yeah, let's take.
Yeah.
You, madam.
Just a question, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Margaret Edison. I work with the government of Nigeria. I came yesterday particularly for this conference. And my first question or input goes to, maybe we'll start from the keynote speaker to the panelists. I wonder whether we have think through the kind of products that Africa sends into the international market to benefit from globalization.
Right.
I'll use my country as an example. We produce oil, but we don't refine it. We send the crude to the market. They refine and send it back to us to buy and sell to the people. So we don't benefit anything that improves the life of the people. Then my second questions go to Nyasha. I like your project, which you were trying to build the life of the women. But for you to improve the life of the women, you need to look at the quality of the women. How do you move from their low status? I still use my country as an example because Nigeria has the largest population in Africa, cutting across the different population groups. So I don't know where we have half of the women or more who have never completed primary school nor ever see the four walls of the school.
All right.
And you are coming to improve them. So I don't know where you are going to start to be able to empower them, to be able to transform
All right. Thank
society.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first question.
Yeah.
So the first question I was addressed, how do we make VC fairer? Great question. Look, I'll say actually, I never started as a VC. I started as a hustler like Andrew. No, it's true. I used to take Timberland boots from the US and sell it in the UK. And I became an accidental VC because I saw an opportunity that people were not funding local entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Now, how do we change it? One is we need more people who look like us to be in the decision makers. If you look at the data, of the of this year, we'll be on track to do $8 billion in venture capital flows to Africa. Okay, 70% of that is Silicon Valley and Europe. African venture capital firms only represent $1 in $5 of venture capital flows, right? And part of that is tied to policy. Where are the venture capital funds in Europe and the UK and the US coming from? Pension funds are their LPs. So imagine, we have trillions of dollars of pension assets. Imagine if tomorrow our government made a policy to say, let's liberalize the pension industry and put 5% of that to anchor local LPs.
Doctor, I'm going to stop you there.
We'll unleash an entire ecosystem.
Absolutely. So, Nyasha, would you like to answer that question, please?
Yeah, for me, in the issue of empowering the women, education for me is it's not about, for me, I don't think it's about entering a classroom. It can be in life, you can be educated. And some of the women I've met in my journey, my tour in Africa, I've never been to school, but they're running a very, very wonderful businesses, and really want to scale up. So I'm thinking that the colonial, it's our mind which says you must be in a classroom to be educated, and I think it's coming from the colonial mindset, because that's where we are, really. That's where they're the ones who created school, in terms of that form of schooling. And you can empower somebody because of that. I really believe that these women have got a lot of strength.
Yeah. So I think we'll stop there. I think everyone has had the opportunity to hear people who are experienced in executing and have got real life experience. Andrew, thank you for making it here on time. Thank you, Doctor, for traveling overnight as well. So I thank you for what you have, making the time to get here, Nyasha. Above all, for me, what was really important is, real life experience, because that is key. As someone who actually worked in a fintech for a brief stint, so I know exactly what you're talking about, how profits can be, and also someone who actually seen Nyasha deliver, actually build something and then exit. So I know that I think it was important for other people to hear that, because that's the education. To me, that is education. People to actually hear from someone who looks like them, or maybe not look like them, actually tell them what needs to be done to get there. Thank you for making time. I hope I moderated and gave you the tools that you wanted to hear. And thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.